But Miss Pike on the mic makes she a rock. Really having fun. Ain't no holding our tongue. Go get us on the team, yeah, we getting it done. Shout out to the failure, you number one. We started with a dream and turned into a vision. Every new generation is our mission. Kids in the streets, yeah, we steady politics. If it ain't about the change, mind your business. Wait again a minute. 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 That's me. Like the other one again. This how we be dancing for that time. I'm not coming in with you like that.
Welcome to another episode of Wait Again a Minute. Today is Thursday, March the 25th, and we have a very, very special guest in the house studio tonight.
Okay.
We have none other than Miss Narendra Plaz.
Yes, get that right. Yes. Okay, welcome, Narendra. Right?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome to Wait Again a Minute podcast. So, tell everyone, who is Nandrena Pleas?
Okay. Well, Nandrena Pleas is an attorney. I used to work here in the city of Suffolk. I've been here, living here, and I worked here for about 8 years. I still live here, and I'm running for Commonwealth Attorney here in the city of Suffolk. So that is why I'm here tonight. I want to speak with you nice ladies and let everybody know who I am.
Okay. So you said you're running for Commonwealth Attorney.
Yes.
See, I want to keep saying DA.
Yes.
Because that's what I'm used to hearing. You know, I watch a lot of Law and Order.
Correct. And that's what they are. In other places, they're called district attorneys. They're DAs.
Right.
But here in Virginia, we're Commonwealth attorneys.
So why are they called Commonwealth Attorneys here in Virginia?
So several states, there are 4 of them, they're called Commonwealth. So we are the Commonwealth of Virginia. There's Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and Commonwealth of Kentucky. In those particular states, because they're called Commonwealths, their attorneys are called Commonwealth attorneys. So it's just just a name.
Yeah, because I just want to keep saying DA. So, but it's okay if I say DA though. Is that a
we'll know what you're talking about.
Okay.
But she's talking about Commonwealth attorney.
Okay. Yes, she's gonna correct me, y'all, because I'm like DA because I watch Law and Order.
Yes.
So tell us, what made you decide to be a Commonwealth attorney or go into law? Period.
Okay, so I decided when I was in high school that I was going to law school.
Oh, okay.
So at the end of high school, you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life. You got a son that's trying to figure out what he's going to do. I recommend this. He may not like it, but it worked for me. So I put together lists of things that I was good at and lists of things that I wanted to do. So my dream stuff was on this side, like being a doctor. My science and math skills weren't too tight. So that was my dream stuff. But then on this side, I had skills that I thought I was good at. And I did debate in high school, and I really liked it. Lawyering is a little bit like that. And so that was on my list. So I went through all the things on there, and what was left when I looked at all my skills, what I thought would bring me happiness at the end of the day was going into law. And so that's what I decided to do in high school.
So there was nothing that actually inspired you or something that happened growing up?
No, not really.
I used to want to be a judge, though.
Well, in Virginia, I know some other states have an exception, but in Virginia, you do have to be a lawyer to be a judge. Right. So, that's a later process. Most judges are, I'm not going to say old, but they're older, they're experienced attorneys, they practice for some time, and then they become a judge. So it's not like you would just go to college, go to law school, and then become a judge. That's typically not how it works.
Right.
Yeah.
See, that's what I wanted to do.
Oh, okay. So you would
have
had
I know I had to be a lawyer, so I was like, I can go to school, be a lawyer for a little bit, and then jump right into being a judge.
Right.
Because, to me, I'm looking at like judges, they really don't do a whole lot. They really just sit there, and then they had the jury come up with what they think, and then they go, well, okay, or either they come up with what they think should happen if they don't agree with the jury. So I'm like, okay, they ain't doing a whole lot.
I would tend to disagree. And I've had this conversation with a judge. I think being a judge is very difficult. And the reason I say that is because you are on the entire time you're on the bench. You have to pay attention the entire time. Yeah. As a prosecutor, we sort of come and go with our cases. I'll come in, do my case, maybe another prosecutor will move in, do their case, but a judge has to sit there and stay focused. And that can be difficult.
That's the key word, because I done seen someone, they weren't too focused.
Yes.
They was looking like they was spaced out.
Correct.
They looking down. And I even seen one look like he was taking a nap.
It's possible you've seen that before. Yes. And that's why I'm saying I think it's a little bit difficult, because you do have to stay in the zone. You have to be focused. You have to be listening to everything, even when you have a jury trial, because, you know, you still have to make rulings during the jury trial, so you need to know what was said. So I think it's very difficult, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so what made you go to school in Indiana?
So I had my dream. I was going to be a healthcare lawyer. Okay. And I was going to do healthcare defense. So meaning defending hospitals, doctors, you know, people in the medical field. Okay. And Indiana University had one, I think they still do have one of the top health law programs in the country. Okay. And so that's why I went there. I went there with the intent to focus on healthcare law. And I actually did. A lot of my classes revolved around healthcare law because that's what I wanted to do.
Okay, so did you ever get the chance to do any type of
healthcare law?
Healthcare law?
No, I didn't. I went there for that purpose. I mean, I really enjoyed the education. A lot of my classes were, and during the summers I worked for the Center for Law and Health at Indiana University. So I got to do research, and that was very interesting, but I actually never did work in that particular field.
Why?
So it's just the way it worked out. So coming out, you're looking for a job, you're trying to get in healthcare, and that's what you want to do. And, you know, I just didn't get an opportunity, so I just moved on and moved forward.
Okay, so what was the first law practice you took?
So the first job I had was in Virginia Beach, a firm called Thomas & Associates. It's a small little firm, and they do a lot of homeowners association work. So think about, I don't know if you live in a homeowners association, but think about, you know, you put out a flag or something that's in violation of, you know, regulations or whatever, or any type of disputes that you have with your condo association or your homeowners association. That firm did a lot of that type of work, and so that's what I was doing there. And then I applied to a Commonwealth Attorney's office in Emporia, Greensville County, and that's where I started my career as a prosecutor.
Okay, so explain to us because exactly what the Commonwealth Attorney, what is the actual job? Because when I think of like Commonwealth Attorney, well, actually I didn't think of Commonwealth Attorney, I thought of DA. So when I think about a DA or Commonwealth Attorney now here for Virginia, I think about, okay, your job basically is to support the police, try to prove their case and get a conviction. Regardless of what, you just trying to get that conviction based on the arrest of the police officer, whoever they arrested. So explain exactly what is the actual job. Like, do you try to, like, say the police arrest someone, do you actually try to make sure that person is really truly guilty, or is it just basically, oh no, you arrested, I'm gonna try to make sure I get a conviction?
Right.
Well, give us a little description of Commonwealth first.
And then okay.
Right.
Okay. So primarily, a Commonwealth Attorney's job is to prosecute cases. It is to prosecute cases. It doesn't mean to necessarily work with the police in that sense, but you know, we get a case file, we get it from the police department. It can be any type of crime, and it's our job to put that case together and present it to the court. So we are sort of representatives of the Commonwealth of Virginia, representing the Commonwealth of Virginia in court for cases for crimes that occurred in our locality. So for us, it would be here in Suffolk. And so that is our job. That can be a bench trial, meaning a trial by judge. That can be a jury trial, meaning a trial by jury. So that's our job. Now, the second part of your question is, are you just there to get a conviction? My answer is no. My answer has always been no. And in fact, this particular issue came up with me a few years ago, where I had a case presented to me, and I had a photo of the young lady in my file from where she had issues previously. And then I had a photo of the person who was alleged to have done the crime from part of the crime scene.
Okay.
And to me, they didn't look like the same person. They were both black females, but for me, that's sort of where the similarity ended. And so because I was not convinced it was the same person, I non-pros the charges, meaning I asked the court to dismiss them because I was not comfortable going forward that we had the right person. And I will tell you, I faced some pressure from that because I had other people telling me, I know who she is, I've seen her before, and this is the same person. That they had seen her and they said she looked like this, and they were absolutely adamant that it was her. And I just wasn't sure. And I would, I've been asked the question, how many, innocent people do you think you've convicted?
Right.
I hope it's zero. And for that reason, I need to sleep at night. And I need to make sure that I'm doing the very best I can to prosecute cases against the right people. Correct. And so for that reason, we did not go forward with her because I didn't see it. And I felt like if I had reasonable doubt, somebody else could have reasonable doubt.
The jury could possibly have reasonable doubt too.
Do you feel like that they felt some type of way because it was a female and they knew that it was a female, then you're, a female like...
Some bias or something?
Yes.
I don't think so. I just think sometimes people get caught up in what they are firmly, and I'm sure I've been a victim of that too. Like you're 100% certain this is what happened. Right. And this is who it is. And so I don't think it was any type of bias, but I do think they were adamant that they were correct.
Okay. Now, I have a question. Now, when you say non-process, that means that they can bring you back
Technically, yes, you can bring them back. Correct. Yes. Okay.
So you non-process it because of the fact they didn't look alike, but they can bring it back if they found that actual person or more evidence that was actually the person that they just didn't look alike.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Within a year, is that right?
No. So for that particular charge, it would have been longer. So it was a felony charge. Yes. Yeah. It was
a felony charge. How long do they have to bring it back up?
So in Virginia, indefinitely.
Really? Oh, wow. So they could wait 25 years. She really won't be looking like herself then.
Technically, but I'm just saying.
So it's like, we're gonna bring it back up. Now she really don't look like herself.
But in actuality, that doesn't happen. I mean, you say it's not a process; it goes away unless you are continuing to actively investigate that case. There's unless some new evidence come forward, that case is not getting reopened.
Well, how about that person continue to get in trouble and come back in your office again?
Well, that would be a different scenario because, again, if the issue in that particular case is this the right person? Identity is crucial. I have to prove that this person committed the crime. Unless that new evidence puts that person as the person who committed the crime, we're still in the same position.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, so have you ever had any cases where you might have dropped or lost or did the non-process and then you went back and you thought about it and you like, maybe that wasn't a good idea, or maybe you lost the case because of something you might have did or you missed?
I don't think so. I tend to think and most of my cohorts too, I mean, I can confidently speak that the people, both in my current office and my old office, were very diligent about looking at your files, making sure you're assessing it, making sure you know what's going on in your case before you prosecute it. So again, so you don't end up with bad outcomes, because again, any innocent person who should not be in prison is injustice for everybody. Right. So you don't want that to happen, and I would not want that on my conscience personally.
Oh, yeah, because I can imagine that would be tough.
Correct.
Well, already you seem, we only know from what we see on TV. We haven't experienced the criminal side. But I wanted to ask you if, being that your title was what here in the city of Suffolk?
So before I left, I was Deputy Commonwealth Attorney.
Okay, so did you actually do you guys actually prosecute cases or certain ones, or how's that done?
So in this office here in Suffolk, the way it's done, is our office is split into teams. Okay. We had 2 general district court teams and 1 juvenile team. And basically what happens is you have juvenile domestic relations district court, which means that any cases that start there, so any cases involving kids or any cases that involves family, domestic relations start there. And general district court is basically any other crime. And so you had 2 teams that prosecuted in general district court. One was a general crimes team and the other was violent crimes. And then juvenile team did everything that came up in juvenile court.
And what were you actually doing?
So as deputy of the juvenile team, I was in juvenile court. And so any cases that came up involving kids or families, those are the types of cases that I handled.
Wow.
But I had been in the general district court team as well, so I've done
Which one do you like better?
Well, I think your ability to impact might be better in juvenile court, but it's probably the most depressing across the board.
Right, that's what I was about to ask you. How is it, prosecuting kids?
It's not
only kids, but how is it prosecuting domestic?
Yeah.
So it's troubling. I think that's probably the best word is troubling. You see kids and you see the stuff that they're going through, right? And you know that, they're children. So most of it is a lot of it is out of their control. Some of it's not, right? And some of it is parents who haven't been parenting to lead us to where we are. These kids didn't start having problems at 14. It started well before.
Right.
And so that's a problem because you see this and you see it, unfortunately, we see it generationally. We have this kid, but we also prosecuted this kid's parent and so on and so forth. And you're like, where does it end? Right. So that part can be depressing. The other part about juvenile that can be depressing is our child victims. Because our child victims, so we can have an adult who's prosecuted in juvenile court for victimizing a child. And that is, think of the worst case scenario and we've had it. And so those cases can be very sad and depressing. And so from that perspective, you would feel good accomplishing something if you convicted that person because then you're taking perhaps a pedophile off the street. Right. But at the same time, some child had to be victimized for that to happen. And so that's why, if you had a choice, you might not want all that drama in your life. Right. JDR is a lot of drama. It's it's heavy. It is very heavy.
So you put yourself in a lot of your cases?
I don't put myself in a lot of cases, but some things you just can't unforget. You just can't unforget seeing certain photos of children being victimized. You can't unforget, some child who's been badly beaten by their parent, and you have to look at those pictures over and over and over again.
I know that.
So
happens.
Do you be very emotional?
Not typically. I try to
separate yourself from the
Yes.
case?
Yes, you have to.
Yeah.
There is something and it's something similar to what first responders get. It's like a secondary trauma. It's not like straight PTSD, but it's something similar where you see these kids or whatever being victimized over and over and over again, and you're stepping in. Sometimes it's a good outcome. Sometimes it's not. And in the end, even if it is a good outcome, somebody had to get hurt to get there. So
So do the judge, or do you feel like the judge is always like y'all are always on one accord, or
no.
do sometimes?
No, we are not always on one accord. No. I think, and I can speak, first, and I'm, speaking for Suffolk judges.
Right.
No, I can say definitely no. We're not all on one accord. That they're, that they make a distinction. They make us put on our case. So the Commonwealth is responsible for proving a case beyond a reasonable doubt. It is our job to prove that this person did it, like we were talking about identity before, this is where it happened, blah, blah, blah. So that is our job to prove that. And the judges make us prove that because that is our job. And you don't want to win any other way.
Right.
If I'm having a case where I have a child victimized, if I don't do what's right, then perhaps that case gets overturned on appeal, or perhaps that person files a habeas petition, 5 years later, their conviction gets overturned and we have to start all over again. So now this victim has to be re-traumatized because we have to retry the case because you didn't do what you were supposed to do the first time.
Right.
So you don't win by doing that. So, so our judges they make us do our job.
Have you ever had to go through that, like appeals?
Appeals are very common.
Oh, they are?
The process of appealing is very common. The process of a case actually getting overturned is not. So anybody can appeal. You have a right to appeal. Anyone can appeal. So you're basically asking the next court up, which is the Court of Appeals here in Virginia, to say, hey, the trial court did something wrong. Can you look at this and tell me what the trial court did wrong?
Right.
And for the most part, our appeals are not overturned, which means we did it right. Then they typically appeal to the Virginia Supreme Court and say the same thing. Hey, everybody got it wrong below you. Fix this, fix this. And typically it's the Supreme Court is saying, no, they follow the law, So most cases do not get overturned. Some do.
So what's your percentage, do you know, of overturned cases?
I don't know.
Okay, so that means, basically if the case not getting overturned in appeal, that means you're doing a good job.
did
I
you
mean,
did
did a good
case.
job.
yes, for that
For
case.
that
You
case.
did what you were supposed to do for that case, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
And I can't say what percentage. I think I've had one issue on appeal that got overturned out of probably all the time I've been prosecuting. So for 15 years, I think I've had one. And the whole case wasn't overturned on appeal, only a part of it. So yeah. So the other conviction was upheld, and it wasn't actually the conviction itself wasn't overturned. It was the sentencing, and that was because the judge had exceeded the statutory limit for the particular charge, just out of error. And so that the court said, hey, you have to go down and fix this. So the person was actually still guilty, but the sentence will be changed.
So now that you mentioned that, and I have a question, because we had a guest on before with a situation like that, and I know you don't know that case, but I just have a question in reference to stuff like that. Like when you're dealing with kids, or just like you said, the case, part of it was overturned because of the judge went over
the sentencing.
The sentencing guidelines?
It wasn't the sentencing guidelines. It's actually, so every offense has a statutory sentencing structure. So for example, a misdemeanor, a class 1 misdemeanor, you can have up to 12 months in jail and or $2,500 fine. If a judge sentenced someone to 2 years on a class 1 misdemeanor, that's a problem because the maximum penalty is only 12 months. And so in this particular case, the judge had gone over that particular 12 months and gave someone more than they should have gotten for that particular charge.
Okay. So is there so there's no age, it's just what the crime is what the sentencing guidelines or sentencing could be, not based on the age and all of that stuff. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Now juveniles are different. I mean, I don't know if are you trying to make a distinction between juveniles and adults?
No, I'm just trying to make a distinction about why was the judge go over and give someone so much?
So it was, in this particular case, it was a charge, and I'm not sure where it is, so I'm not going to say a whole lot, but it was a case. It's a case where the charge started as a felony, ended as a misdemeanor, and it was just a mathematical error on the judge's part, thinking it was still under the felony as opposed to the misdemeanor. So I can't remember the timing, but say the maximum is 12 months, maybe the person got 18 months or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the case that she's talking in reference to is he was actually 16 when he was sentenced, although he was tried as an adult.
Oh, is that what she's asking?
Yeah, and his
That's
sentence
always
was 188 years, suspended down to 77, 78 years.
Okay, so you're saying someone who was 16
Right.
was tried as an adult.
Correct.
Yeah, that's possible. Correct.
You got 188 years. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Because I was like, that's kind of excessive. So if there's like sentencing guidelines, it's like, would that be questionable?
So the sentencing guidelines are different. So what happens is we have the Virginia Criminal Sentencing Commission, and what they have done over the course of years is come up with a rubric. I mean, basically is the way to put it. It's basically a form. And for that form, you categorize the offenses that the person is before the court on. So if the person is before the court for assault, then you have a sheet for assault. If the person is before the court for larceny, then you have a sheet for larceny. They've assigned points to different types of offenses. They've assigned points to prior criminal history. They assign points to if a person is male or female, or if they have prior, I mean, it's a whole...
Male or female?
It's a whole thing. And they've done research behind it. And so what happens is you put all this information in, it spits out a number, and those are the sentencing guidelines. So it'll say, for example, the midpoint, meaning active period of incarceration, how much time they should spend in jail, should be maybe a year. The low end is 6 months, maybe the high end is 18 months. And so you give that to the judge, and they look at the sentencing guidelines and determine what sentence that they should give. But in Virginia, they're discretionary, meaning the judge can go above or the judge can go below.
So quick question in reference to that, they put in all this information. Do they put in your race too? Is there a point system pertaining to a person's race?
No,
Really?
I don't believe so. It does, it asks for age, because what they found, again, this is all based on research, and what they found is for certain offenses, certain types of individuals are more likely, I believe it's maybe more likely to commit crime, or they get more points, or they're more dangerous or something like that. They assign points to it. And so, for example, and it's hard to think about them without seeing them in front of me. But for certain offenses, if it goes by age, so under certain offenses, you get more points if you are younger than you do if you are older. I guess the theory is if you're older and you're committing this crime, you're less likely to be a repeat offender, whereas if you're younger, then you're more likely.
You're going to grow up, you might do it again. Because it's like, I guess the reason why I asked that as well, and I'm listening to you now, I get that because that's actually making sense. But I can't see them putting all this information in about a person and not putting their race. Like, you like that would be automatic.
It's missing something.
No.
Right. Yeah, it's like it's missing something because when you think about like people that go to jail, yes, you have black people that go to jail, yes, you have white people that go to jail, and so forth, so on. But the percentage in and you can have two people of different race do almost the same crime, same age, but it seems like one side, the person on this side, gets more time. So if there's a point system, it seems like look like if you of color or whatever, you get more points.
So it's not. So that does not score race.
Okay.
And I have seen what you're saying. I mean, I've seen it in person, and I've, again, that's why judges are so important. And who's on the bench is so important. Yes. And that's why we need diversity on the bench. And I'm not a proponent of giving someone a job just because of their race, or giving someone a job just because of their sex. They have to be qualified.
That's right.
But we have qualified people along the whole spectrum who can fill positions, and you need that. You need to have different perspectives, and
you do.
That's one thing that we don't have here on our judiciary.
You're right.
And I love our judges. I know most of them. I'm friends with a lot of them, but we don't have a lot of diversity in our judiciary in this city. We don't.
No, we do.
Okay, and I know. So I know you said you was one of the assistant Commonwealth attorneys. I said, yeah.
I started as assistant, so yeah, I was. Yeah.
Okay, so you was a Commonwealth attorney.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Deputy. So now you're running for
the Commonwealth Attorney.
The Commonwealth
Yes.
Attorney. I was about to say no, I got to get this together. The Commonwealth Attorney.
Yes.
So you're no longer the Commonwealth
Deputy
Attorney, Deputy Commonwealth Attorney.
I am, but not here.
Ooh,
Right.
So I work in Norfolk now. I work in the Norfolk Commonwealth Attorney's office. I left this office
Did
in
you have to
February.
leave because you're running here?
No, I left. So I had been looking around and seeing things, and I thought I would like to change. Right? I live here, and this is what I do. This is what I've done. I love what I do. And I saw some things that I would like to change. And so you start to think, maybe I could bring change and do something, more effective for the city.
Right.
And so, I was gonna wait until my boss retired, and he's older, and he was probably closer to retirement and do that. But what really got me to thinking and made me jump in is in 2019 when Chris Jones and Clinton Jenkins were running. You remember they're running for House of Delegates. And we were at work one day, and my boss comes in and asks if, I was in a coworker's office. My boss comes in and asks if we would come, if we would go work for Chris Jones's campaign. And it was a very awkward conversation, but it ended with me and my coworker just sort of brushing it aside and trying to say no, but in a polite way. And so we just were like, we'll check, whatever, bye. And so we left. So the day progresses, and all of a sudden we get an email for a office-wide conference, a meeting in the conference room. And I was like, well, what is this about? Because the email didn't say what it was for, but everybody needed to attend. And so, your boss calls a meeting, you go to the meeting.
Right.
So we get into the meeting, and the whole office is there. And it's the same stuff that we heard in the morning. Chris Jones is this, Chris Jones is that. We need to help support him. We need to work on his campaign. And we need to be at the polls for him.
Is this normal?
No.
Okay.
No, ma'am. And so he's going through that. And a lot of people are very upset. I was one of them. And he asked for volunteers to work on the campaign and all this other stuff. And, many of us are sitting there very angry, quite frankly. And so they take names, people who have volunteered, okay, whatever. We leave out the meeting. It was wrong, but you keep going, right? So then a short while later, still the same day, people who didn't volunteer are called into the office to be signed up to work.
So you basically
So
drafted.
you was forced to do something that's not normal or
right, or
description.
probably even legal. Yeah.
Right.
So I got called in. I can't speak for other people's experience. All I can say is I got called in, and I was asked to do it, and I said no. And I was asked again, and I said no. And I was asked again, and I said no. And then I was asked,
all of this in the same day?
all the same day. And so then I'm asked, well, why?
Good question.
And I said, well, do you have your reasons? That's what I was asked. I said, yes, and I'm not going to share them because my vote is my business. Who I support is my business.
Right.
That's, I don't know, the Constitution and whatnot. But I would think that would be the end of it. Then I'm told how, Chris Jones is going to help prosecutors. He's going to help get us money, blah, blah, blah. And I looked at him and I said, well, did you talk to delegate, or no, he wasn't delegate at the time. Did you talk to Clint Jenkins? Do you know what he's planning on doing? Have you spoken with him? And he said, no, he hadn't. I said, well, then you don't know what he will or will not do. So don't try to play up somebody else. You haven't even talked to the man.
Correct.
So then he goes on to berate Clint Jenkins. He says he doesn't need to go to Richmond. He can't go to Richmond. He calls him a liar. He says other disparaging things. And it was very offensive. And I'm in that room, and I felt like every black person who's probably come before me, who's been called into a white person's office and told what to do and how to vote.
Right.
We know it's happened in our history, right?
Right.
We know it's happened, and I was experiencing that.
And so, do you think that was one of those things where they said, like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, I do you a favor, you do me a favor?
I honestly don't know
why was he
what it was.
pushing him so hard, talking about what he's going to do for you guys?
I don't know what it was. All I know is I left out of there crying.
Yeah, because
I have never
I would feel uncomfortable.
cried at work.
You about to cry now?
Something like that. It upset me. I'm still upset by it. Yes, ma'am.
I see a little tear coming out.
Yes, ma'am. I'm telling you, it. Don't, girl, stop it. So, but no, it upset me. It upset me in a way that it probably didn't upset a lot of other people. Like, all I see is we fought hard for the right to vote as a people, as women, as black women.
Yes.
Right.
And here's somebody telling me who should and should not go to Richmond, who I should or should not support, who I need to go out and advocate for. That's my decision.
Right.
And so I felt some kind of way about that.
Right.
And so after that, I was like, I got to get up out of here. But then COVID hit. So, it wasn't very easy to find a job after that. So I've been looking for a job since 2019.
Really? So you resigned, basically?
I did resign this year once I found a new job.
Basically because of what you believe in.
So
Correct. So I did not do it. I felt my job might have been in jeopardy. Fortunately, it wasn't. I didn't know that day. But some things are some things you have to be willing to stand up for. Because if you don't stand up for what you believe in, people gonna walk all over you and tell you what to do.
You got that right.
And so that particular day, I went home and whatever was gonna happen was gonna happen. And I was gonna deal with it. And I was. So it was not a good day.
So did anyone else do the same thing? Anyone else feel the same way?
So, I don't know if anyone else felt the same way.
Why?
I know a few people said no, and I know a lot of people were bullied into saying yes because they felt they didn't have a choice.
So you're very strong-willed. Like if you believe
That's
in
an
something,
understatement. Yes.
like if you believe in it, that's just what it is.
It is.
Yeah.
I think if you ask people about me, that's something they would say. I am strong-willed. I have always been that way. My mom will tell you. She's like, "Oh my God, would you just stop?" But that's just who I am. If there's something I believe in, I'm gonna take up for it. If there's someone I believe in, I'm gonna take up for it. That girl, I took up for her and not crossing that charge because I thought it was the right thing to do.
Right.
For me, when I was interviewed for the position working here in Suffolk, they asked me, what are your goals? And I felt kind of silly because all these other people have like very specific goals. Like, I want to be here in 5 years. I want to be here in 10 years. I want to do this. And I was just simple. You know, I'm like, I just want to be happy. You know, I was like, I
Right.
just want to be happy. If I wake up and I'm doing well and I'm happy and I leave my job, I feel like I've done something.
Yeah.
That's what I want out of life.
Yeah.
And that can change from day to day. So that's my goal, you know, to be happy. Try to make it. I feel like if you're making a difference, if you're trying to do something, you're trying to help people, those things, that goodness is visited back upon you.
Right.
And that is what helps you. So that's my goal out of life. I just want to be happy. I want to make other people happy.
So do you feel as being a DA,
It's okay. I know what you mean, Commonwealth Attorney.
being the Commonwealth Attorney, that you will actually be helping the citizens?
I do. So, I mean, this job is a prosecution job, right? My job is to prosecute cases. That will not change. My job is to keep people safe. And I think we keep people safe by prosecuting crimes.
Right.
I think we can do it smartly, right? So, you know, one of the things I would like to introduce is pretrial services. We are the only city in this
That's right.
entire
That's right.
area that doesn't
right.
have pretrial services.
Really?
And what that is as people are awaiting trial, they are released to pretrial services, and it's sort of like a supervision type program, sort of like a probation program, but make sure people are doing what they're supposed to do. They're staying clean, they're going to work, they're doing whatever.
Right.
Because the way it sits now is the judge will give them a bond and say don't do those things, but no one is actually supervising them.
Nope.
Be sure
It's,
they don't.
right, or some people end up staying in jail because we don't have supervision. And I'm not talking about violent crimes. You know, if someone's outside murdering people, I will advocate for them to stay incarcerated. You know, violent crimes. But for some other petty stuff, people, we can have pretrial services so people can be monitored. So I think there's a smarter way to do what we do. Same with mental health. We're seeing a lot of issues with mental health. A lot of cases, it's not to the extent where the mental illness is an excuse or justification for a crime, or that the person did it because of they were under the influence of some type of mental health crisis.
Right.
But we have a lot of people, juveniles and adults, who are affected by mental health, and you know, we need to deal with that in a smarter way.
That's true.
And so I feel that there's room for us to grow there, to bring that and incorporate that as part of our prosecution services. It will require cooperation with other, entities. It will require funds, but I would like to try to get that here. We need it. We need that.
And that's so true what you were saying about mental health, because when I used to work in the jail system, a lot of them, they had mental issues.
Correct.
And and that's what actually was one of the questions as well. They were basically saying that, do you think by them being in prison, like, is that a form of rehabilitation? Is that
And see, now that I don't think that's a form of rehabilitation.
For mental health, it is not. It's unfortunately, the legislature was trying to do something good when they got people out of facilities and tried to get everyone in community-based treatment.
Right.
You know, they were trying to do something good, and I see the good in that. But it's also left a gaping hole because, I don't know, we've had some defendants who have severe mental health issues.
correct?
And they will continue to get in trouble, and some of them will escalate, and there's not much we can do. There's not much we can do, and that part is scary, because I would rather prevent some type of school shooting or grocery store shooting if we had if we could, because we caught them early on. And as you know, when people get off their meds, that's when things go south. So if you have a defendant who, and a lot of them, that's what happened. They got off their meds. If we have a system in place that we're monitoring them, which again requires long-term commitment, then perhaps we don't get to the place where someone gets hurt later. But
And I think that's what it is. A lot of times people, they want to do a quick something, but it doesn't help the situation in the long run. So that's
Yes.
definitely true.
Yes.
We also have another question before Pint comes on, and the person asked about getting rid of the getting rid of the grand jury. What is the grand jury about?
So the grand jury
And indictments, she said.
She said what?
Grand jury and indictments.
I think she's meaning jury. Did she say grand jury?
Yeah, she said grand jury.
Okay, so The criminal justice system is built on steps of probable cause.
Okay.
So from the time a person is arrested to the time they come to trial, there's all kinds of steps for probable cause. Again, our job is to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt once you get to trial, but all the other steps are basically saying, did this crime probably occur? Did you probably do it? Okay, yes. Well, let's go to the next step. Let's go to the next step. So the first step in that process is going to the magistrate's office. So you go to the magistrate, you get a warrant, and you tell the magistrate what happened, and they issue a warrant saying, yeah, this probably happened. So there's your probable cause. Then you go to preliminary hearing if it's a felony. And again, the judge is determining probable cause. Did this, more likely than not happen? Okay, yes. Then it goes to the grand jury. And the grand jury, once again, did this more likely than not happen? So it's another probable cause determination. So it's a lot of safeguards in the system to see if there's probable cause. And that just gets you to trial. Well, you still have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So I don't see that going away.
Right. And who actually is the grand jury?
The citizens.
The citizens.
Yep.
Just regular people off the street.
Well,
I did jury before.
Registered to vote. Suffolk residents registered to vote.
So you can't be.
That's right. I think that's right.
That's a question. Like for jurors, do you have to? You can't have any charges. They run your background, stuff like that, right?
So you can't be a convicted felon who's not had their rights restored. So if you've had your rights restored, you could still technically have a conviction, but still be allowed to serve on a jury.
Oh.
So it's only if you've been convicted and have not had your rights restored. If you have, then you can serve on a jury. So it can be anybody. It's from 18 on up. Can serve on a jury.
They just send you a letter and tell you to report. And I had
you get your summons for jury duty
3 times.
I want to serve on a jury. I've been summoned once for federal court.
Oh, no, federal
but I actually went and I went to court, but they ended up pleading the case out. But it was in federal court. But other than that, yeah.
So Commonwealth, like you've always been with the Commonwealth states.
Yes.
You've never did like DA, what she's trying to say, like other people call it district attorneys.
Right. I've only been in Virginia. Correct.
You've only been in Virginia.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So how do you think you would feel if you wasn't in Commonwealth? Do you think it'd be a little harder for your practice, or Or
so you're saying like if I was in private practice?
Yeah, do you think? Yeah, because it's different laws for Commonwealth.
Well, so
right?
so you have are you thinking like public defenders or defense attorneys versus Commonwealth attorneys? Like, so the people who represent defendants or people who are charged?
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I've never done that. I've actually had that conversation with my colleagues, and I don't think I ever could. Because I really don't. Because your job at the end of the day is to zealously defend your client. So if my client says, yeah, I raped that little girl, I can't do anything about it because my job is to zealously defend that client. So you do my best. Correct.
Keep them out of jail.
Correct.
Okay, so you never had no thoughts or anything or interest in even being a defense attorney, because you're gonna be like, no, I can't do that. Let me slide this note on over here. Look, they did.
That's so hypothetically speaking, like if you were the defense attorney for the Floyd case,
George Floyd.
Okay. Not even the defense attorney, but what about the?
I mean,
you mean the one for Chauvin, the officer. The officer.
Correct.
Yeah.
Have you pictured yourself in that?
I would never. I mean, no. I just.
She was the DA.
I feel there's no justification for that. So, but if you are his lawyer, I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure he walks out that door free. That would be my job as his attorney. And I would do it if I was a defense attorney because that would be my job.
That would be your job. But as a prosecutor, you
so I don't have to worry about that. Correct. Yes.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. As a prosecutor,
my job would be to prosecute him and try to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt to convict him.
Right.
Right. But as a defense attorney, my job is to say, you know what, his knee just slipped. He didn't mean to. However I'm going to minimize it, whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to do my best to get that man off. That is my job.
Yep, that's what you had to do. But now, so you running for DA.
Yes.
What should we expect? Oh, Commonwealth.
I know what you meant.
Attorney, y'all. Oh gosh. I think everybody out there would probably say DA too.
I understand.
I don't think I know. I think everybody.
If you watch Law and Order, you probably say DA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what should we expect from you? Like, what are you bringing or have to offer the citizens of Suffolk to have people like rally for you?
So, I mean, first and foremost, just a change from the past 40 something years. I think the current administration at some point brought some changes, but it seems like that's been a long time ago, and not much has changed in a very long time. I think I would like to, modernize, sort of how we do things, and to bring these. We have to adjust with our reality, and our reality is we have a lot more people with mental health. I don't know if it's because we're diagnosing, or they're just more people who have it. I don't know, but the result is the same. We need to deal with it. And we need to get things under control. I think education is important. We need to deal with children, and I had started to work with someone in Suffolk Public Schools, but to deal with truancy in a way that is effective, to get the kids in. Again, they didn't start being truant at 14 and 15. A lot of these things started well before. We need to intercept and see if we can well before that time, so that they're not in high school and they're so far behind they can't catch up. We all win when we have a society, when we have a city where children are educated, where they are free to learn, free to thrive, and people have their backs. We all win. The whole city wins when we have a workforce that can go out and be safe and do what they want to do, have safe neighborhoods. I mean, we all win when we do that. So I don't see any downside to that. These are some of the things I would like to implement. You hear all this stuff about defunding the police. I understand where they're coming from, but I think it's sort of silly. If someone gets robbed, someone gets murdered, who's going to come out and investigate? But I do think, de-escalation training. I've seen, and we do, I work with officers. I've worked with Suffolk officers here, and I love them. I do. Every apple has every bunch has a bad apple, but they handle things really well. I've seen other jurisdictions. And I think our officers, for the most part, handle things really well. I have one officer, he was making a DUI arrest, and it's all on video, and he's so nice to the lady. He's like, apologize, like, I'm really sorry I have to arrest you, but you blew it, and I got to take you in. And she's like, no, it's okay. And people don't see that part. You see the worst of the worst. You honestly do. You see George Floyd. You see the worst of the worst, but you don't see those videos where officers are being nice, or they're being taunted and harassed, and they still just go about their business. They're like, just let me do my job and keep going. So I see that side of it. And for that reason, I can say those things. And I can say them comfortably because I've seen them. I've witnessed them. But we need to have a better partnership, I think, the Commonwealth Attorney's Office with the police. Not necessarily advocating for them or, being their cheerleader, but saying we need to work, and we need to work better. And I don't think that's always been the case here.
So what are your actual 2 top things that you want to actually implement?
I want a mental health court.
Okay.
And pretrial services. Those are the top 2.
I
want truancy.
We don't have mental health court here.
We don't.
That's right.
Right. And so that's what I would like to do. So mental health court, pretrial services, and I would like to address truancy. Those are my top 3.
Top 3.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you approachable? Like, if I want to call you or go to the office and I say, hey, let me stop and say something to the Commonwealth Attorney. Can
I am. I feel like you can't. See, I'm a talker, so I can't keep letting everybody in because I probably would never get anything done.
Right.
But yeah, I think this is a public position, right? This doesn't belong to anybody. This belongs to the people.
Right.
So as a person who's representing this office, you always have to be approachable. So yes, you need to talk to me about something that's going on. Feel free to come and talk to me about it.
Okay.
I think that's fair for this position. Everyone should have that access. It shouldn't be limited to certain people.
Right, and I agree. So therefore, you do events or whatever. So I know we have to get ready to wrap it up, but I just want
We have 10 minutes.
We have 10 minutes.
Yes,
I thought it was almost time to wrap it up. It seemed like it was going by so fast. I thought I've been up here for over an hour. But anyway, good. So now I can ask you something else. So, with you running and everything, right? And you say your top 3, but when you leave out your office, what do you think your colleagues actually say about Narendra? Narendra. What do you think they actually say about you? So, like, if I go to one of your old colleagues and I say, hey, you know, she's running for DA, should I vote for her? What do you think they actually say about
How you feel about Ms. Plaz?
They would say yes, because some of them have given me money for my campaign.
Hey.
So I would have to say yes. I've had a lot of support from the very first Commonwealth Attorney I worked for in Emporia, Greensville. She's you know, now that I've joined Facebook, you know, she sent me a shout out, you know, let me know if there's anything you need, you know, good job. The last Commonwealth Attorney I worked for, who's now a judge, you know, she's very proud that I'm running. So it's, you know, those are the people who guided me and helped me and, you know, started me on this path. And as far as the current ones in Suffolk who I just left, again, some of them gave me money. So I feel like, you know, when you part with $1, that means something. So I feel like that is support in and of itself. And they also know me. And they know what I would do. They know what I would bring. They know my work ethic. They know what I'm about. And so that's like the best endorsement as far as I'm concerned. For me, is that the people that I worked with saying, we believe in you. So.
And they know that you'll be fair.
Right.
Correct.
No matter the color of your skin, it's about fairness.
Correct. Because that means something to me too. You know, I cannot ignore the fact that the vast majority of people that come through our court have brown skin like me. Right? And, you know, again, if you commit the crime, I can't take up for you. You've done something wrong, but we need a, you know, everybody needs to be on the same playing field.
Right. That's right.
And, you know, so it's not lost on me, you know, because I don't take it personally, but it is saddening that we do have so many brown-skinned people who are before the court. And again, you are committing a crime, you have done it, but, you know, in our communities, I don't know, if I could, you know, wave a magic wand and solve that problem, I would, but you know, that's disheartening to see that.
So why did you choose to run in Suffolk? Why not in Norfolk or
So Sussex? I live here and I love Suffolk. I really like Suffolk. So when I love Suffolk.
You do.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Okay, so my description of Suffolk is like a little bit country, a little bit sick. I mean, I like Suffolk. So when I was moving east from Emporia, because that's where I was living last.
Right.
And I moved closer because we were about to have our first baby in the family. My nephew was about to be born, and I wanted to be closer to my family. So I didn't look anywhere else. I wanted to be here in Suffolk because I really like Suffolk. So I did not apply anywhere else. I wanted to be here.
So do you feel like a lot of stereotyping goes on? Do you think that, you know, you have a less chance or more chance because of the color of your skin? Or how you think?
I mean, we got to face the reality that I'm sure there are people who are out there who will not vote for me because I'm a woman. There are people out there who won't vote for me because I have brown skin. There are people out there who won't vote for, you know. I mean, some people are just stuck in their ways. And that's something I would like to overcome. But maybe I can in some people's eyes, and that's perfectly fine. And so it's up to me to try to talk to, I mean, I love everybody. I get along with any and everybody. I don't care who you are. I don't care. I don't care. You know, we're all God's people. So, you know, for me, I know that there are some people who will just say, no, you know, I'm running as a Democrat. There are some people who are like, you know, I hate Democrats. Okay, well, you know, you don't know me. You know, and a lot of people's biases and prejudices are based on ignorance. When you get to know people, you probably will like them.
Yeah.
Honestly, you will probably like them. You can find something in common or something good in almost anybody. Or maybe that's just me being naive. I don't know, but that's how I feel. I feel like you can make a connection with somebody. You can. You can have somebody out there with a Confederate flag, and you're like, no, and then y'all start talking about something. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because let me tell you something. I was at Walmart collecting my signatures for my petitions, and this big burly white guy comes out, and I'm like, you know, because I got to ask everybody, right? And fortunately, you know, he had moved away from me a little too quickly, but I think I did get a chance to ask him. I don't think he lived here, but he had a Black Lives Matter face mask and an F Trump hat. But my initial instinct of him, because, you know, he's this big, burly, you know, country, you know, I was like, he might not take so kindly to me. You know, you just don't know. And sometimes you do have that fear. But, you know, again, that's me prejudging, and that's wrong. And you have to approach everybody.
Yeah.
Now, to piggyback on what you just said about fear, one of the questions was, or is, have you ever have you ever been retaliated against in regards, like from a defendant?
I haven't. I know some colleagues who have. I will say, and I tell our victims and witnesses, because we get this concern a lot. We get people saying, I don't want to come to court. You know how they are. You know what they do. You know how the streets are. And I will say, this is not Chicago. You know, fortunately, this is not Chicago. Right. Suffolk is not Chicago. We don't generally have that problem here. But I have a colleague whose his car was keyed after he finished a trial where someone was found guilty. So I know it has happened. To say it happens frequently would not be true, but it does happen. Yeah.
And then did he prove that that person or someone dealing with that person did?
It did not go to court. Well, again, beyond a reasonable doubt, no, it did not go to court, but, you know, we're pretty certain, you know, that's what happened, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that could have been anyone just walking past a car.
Yeah, sure.
Or, you know, or dating, or, you know, something like that. Well, I have another question for you. I'm going to try to squeeze my questions in there because I see Ms. Go-Getter been just at you.
Well, she been go-getting.
Yes. Have your family been really supportive of your career? Like, do they?
My mom has always been a very hands-off parent. So she's like, you know, go do what you need to do. Get it done. And that's it.
And that's just.
That's it. That's it. She's like, go get it done. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, but I'm sure she's super proud.
Yes. I mean, she's a mother, but, you know, as far as, my mother has never called us. You know, she was never like, oh, go do what you need to do.
She kind of like makes
and fix it. She's more like tough love. Like you have to fix that yourself.
Yes.
Like even coming up.
Yes.
Was it always like?
Always.
I'll teach it to you, but after that, I'm not gonna keep pouring into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your father? Like,
so single parent house.
Single parent.
Yeah,
okay.
Single parent house. Yeah.
Okay. So you don't have any children?
No, I don't have any kids. I have my nephew.
Okay.
My nephew lives with me. He's been living with me since he's about 3.5. So he's 7 now. He'll be 8 in May.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there is like you're the guardian of him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And he's a sweet boy. I love him. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Now, what is the process of the Commonwealth Attorney's election or race?
So I was waiting for verification before we started to see if I was the only nominee. So today was the filing deadline for a primary if you were running in a party. So if you're running Republican or you're running Democrat, today at 5 was your filing deadline to enter that primary. So my paperwork is already in. It had been in. But I didn't know if anyone else was running. And I still don't know. I didn't get verification before we started. So for the primary, it's June 8th. So if I am indeed running in a primary, it's June 8th. Otherwise, the general election is November 2nd.
So if no one else is running against you,
so if
no one's automatically get it?
Yes. No. I automatically get the nomination as the Democratic nominee.
Okay.
So then I don't have to run in the primary. I can just go straight to November. Okay. So yeah, but I won't know until I check my phone.
Oh, okay. But pretty much if no one else run, you already pretty much know you're going to get it in November.
Yes, but I think someone else is, but yeah.
Okay, so now we have to get ready to wrap it up for real this time.
Okay.
So do I have time for her to give us one last close out? Okay.
We have 2 minutes.
Oh. Tell everyone 5 things that no one knows about you. You know.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I guess the first, I'm an EMT.
Oh.
I am a certified EMT. I volunteered for 5 years when I was in Greensville County. I still have my certification. So if y'all need CPR, I got it. But that's number 1. Number 2, I'm currently growing a tropical plant that is a blue Java banana tree. And the bananas actually come out blue. It's supposed to taste like vanilla custard is what I'm told. So.
Really? Oh, you gotta bring us some.
I know, I'm crazy. I just do silly stuff. I love to travel. I don't know if that's a secret, but I love to travel. I love to see the world. I love to meet new people. and you know, experience other cultures. So it's not really a secret, but I love to travel. I play the flute. I actually graduated from the governor's school here, Governor's School for the Arts in Norfolk when I was in, 12th grade. And number 5.
What's your favorite color?
That's mine.
Oh,
Purple. Hey. Yes, purple's my favorite color.
How did you come here on With a G.e.m Minute?
So Miss Joan Turner hooked me up with Miss Gamble, and she said, you have to talk to her. I said, okay. And she's got this podcast, and this is what she does. And like I said before, I got and saw a couple of your podcasts. So I knew about your theme song, and so she told me that I had to connect with her, and I'm, you know, after today, I'm really glad I did. I told y'all I was very nervous about today. I was very, very nervous, but y'all are great. Thank you.
Good. We thank you for coming. And how do you? We always ask everybody, all of our guests, the same question. What advice would you give our podcast With a G.e.m Minute?
Vote. November 2nd, vote, or, you know, I don't know yet if it'll be June 8th, but vote, please. And, you know, stand up for what's right. Stand up, take up for your neighbor. If you see something wrong, you know, stand up. And that's the advice we give, you know, our victims. We have people who come in who don't want to testify. You know, you have stuff coming in your community, stuff that you don't like, but no one will come and say anything.
Right.
So stand up, say something, do something.
Now, I want to interject right here. How can we, or what can we do as citizens, or from your department as well, to kind of bridge that gap between people not wanting to come forth and give forth information?
I honestly don't know. But I think that's something we need to work on as well. I think that's a community thing. I think, you know, people don't want crime, but in some ways they don't want to stop it because they're fear. Fear again. I can understand, you know, and I had someone they told me, like, you don't live in this neighborhood, you don't blah, 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 blah. But I'll tell you, I grew up in Atlanta, and some of the places I had been were not necessarily the greatest. I had, when I was in middle school, there was a boy, we were on the bus stop, and there was a boy, we were on the bus, there was a kid sitting next to me, and he was arguing with someone on the ground, and the guy pulled out a gun. And he was waving it not at me, but at him, but he's sitting next to me. Right. And so, you know, I went home and I told my mom, and I was like, you have to tell the principal. She's like, well, why don't you tell her? I was like, hey, look, I don't think that's a good idea. So, cause again, that's my mom, right? My mom was like, no, go do it. And I was like, look, you know, I don't think that's a good idea. And so I ended up writing a note and slipping it under the door just to say, this is what happened. I mean, I've seen a lot. I went to Atlanta public schools. You know, I've seen kids come to school with a bag of cocaine. I've seen them come with guns. I've seen some stuff. Right. So, you know, I just always feel I'd rather not live in fear. I would rather not live in fear. Like when I took up for myself at work, I might have lost my job. Okay, so you'll get another one.
Right.
That's right.
So that's just sort of my take on it. That's my perspective. But again, I'm not like some of those people who are in Chicago who are living in gangland. So it's easier for me to say that. Right. But I don't know. I just think we can't keep doing this. We can't keep doing it. And we need to respect our communities.
Right. Well, we thoroughly enjoyed you. I know we had a lot of questions from the viewers as well, and I think you answered them very well. Okay. And you are approachable.
That's what I was about to say too.
You seem like you know nonsense either, but you're about change. Yes. And that's what the city needs.
Yes.
Change.
Yes.
So we are eager to see what happens from this day forward.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
And, we're going to be rallying behind you. Godspeed and
thank you.
Let's move Suffolk forward.
Thank you.
So
yes.
How you pronounce your last name?
Pleas.
Look like Pleas.
Yes. Vote please for Pleas. Yes.
Yes. Thank you. I have to that slowly. Yeah.
So again, we thank you for coming. You guys have any last words? Any last thing you'd like to say?
No. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
And we appreciate you coming to talk with us.
And educating us on the true meaning of a Commonwealth Attorney. And we...
Right, and that is Commonwealth Attorney, not DA.
We believe in transparency.
That's we're going to see you in that chair.
Well, like I said, that's the part I like, you being transparent. That was really sealed the deal for me.
Well, thank you.
And I do live in Suffolk, so
Yes.
So we will see you again.
You'll see me around. So
Definitely.
now that deadline has passed, things will pick up for me. So you'll see me out and about. You'll see me probably talking to other people. And I just want to let y'all know y'all were my first interview. So thank you.
Hey.
Thank you.
Well, you were our first Commonwealth Attorney.
Okay.
We're going to go ahead and speak that into existence, not assistant anymore.
Right, not assistant.
Deputy, yeah.
I already told you, you
The
will
Commonwealth
sit in that chair
Thank you.
as
But
the
again,
Commonwealth Attorney.
We thank you. If there is anything that we can do, once everything gets started, if you need
Any
us getting the
assistance?
pavement with you or whatever, just let us know, and we're gonna rock on.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that's a wrap for us. So good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.